Hi, my name is Andy Hickman. Over the course of the last 10 or so years, I've helped directly and indirectly, literally thousands, if not tens of thousands, of families in their college planning process. Over the course of that time, I've begun to recognize that a lot of families, in particular students, struggle with college selection, and even more so, major determination. Parents are generally unprepared to provide much guidance other than their own experience. So, what I'd like to do today is give you some tools and some things to think about that will, I believe, help your students make a really good decision when it comes to school selection and provide some absolute tools and guidance when it comes to major selection and determination. So, with that, let's get started. There are generally two paths that one can follow when it comes to school selection and major determination. The first path is unfortunately the one most commonly followed. It uses assumptions, familiarity, and peer input. The other is more of an intentional process that aims to create a bond between student, school, and major. It incorporates a student's skills, their personality, their values, and their interests. While both paths will provide a destination, a college and a major, there's considerable danger lurking on the path of the traditional approach. First, let's be very clear. Fewer than 60% of all students who set off to college will graduate after a full 6 years. The federal government tracks graduation in both 4, 5, and 6 years because if they used only 4 years as the mark of success, the rate is a fairly disappointing 39.8% according to the latest study. So with the knowledge that there is on average better than a 60% chance of your son or daughter taking longer than 4 years, and that student may even drop out and never graduate, you have three choices. One, don't send them to college. Two, send them to a much lesser expensive college. Or three, take the steps needed to put the statistics in your favor. I like to use analogies when I teach, and I'm generally aware that 90% of any given audience that I speak to, in terms of parents of college-bound students, believe that their student is above average, and they tend to dismiss some of what I try to alert them to before they begin making too many commitments to either schools or majors. So let's use an analogy, and instead of using 60% failure rate, let's assume that the failure rate is only 20%. And when I say failure, I simply mean that instead of considering the very real national statistics, I want you to assume that your son or daughter is going to blow the statistics away. They have a better than 60% chance of making it through. In fact, we're going to say they've got an 80% chance of graduating in just 4 years. So far, you're pretty confident that they'll make it without dropping out or going an extra year or two. So let's shift the playing field to the airport. It's my analogy, right? I'm going to send you on an all-expense-paid flight, trip of a lifetime, anywhere you want to go. There's 5 brand new private shiny jets waiting to take you on your trip. Remember, all expenses paid. 4 of them will successfully whisk you away to your paradise destination. 1 is going to crash. You're now free to board any of the 5 planes you choose. Now, how do you feel about that 80% success rate? Because what I've just shared with you is the assurance that one of those 5 planes, 20%, will fail. The real statistics suggest that only 2 of those 5 flights are going to make it in terms of graduation. Now, whatever statistics you feel comfortable with, the fact remains, there's a risk. So, how do you tilt the odds in your favor? It's really fairly simple. You immediately adopt an intentional process of school selection and the commitment of your son or daughter to a particular course of study. Let me share with you a few more study results. A student who remains undeclared in their course of study, in general, will take longer to graduate. A student who uses the conventional approach of school and major, remember, peer pressure, what they're familiar with, and so forth, is likely to change major and even transfer from their original school to a different school. Now, a recent study suggests that nearly 75% of all students change their major, many of them multiple times during the course of their college career. Now, a couple of facts that I'm sure you've already guessed. First, when a student transfers from one school to another, there's usually something that does not transfer with them, all of their credits. The result, if they're lucky, is another semester or maybe a term. In some cases, it's another year or more. Depending on when the major changes, that too can add time to the achievement of the cap and gown, and more time to get the degree, and you've got more costs. If it's a semester or additional room and board, tuition fees, books, miscellaneous expenses, you might get away with an extra $4,000 or $5,000 at the least expensive schools, or perhaps $20,000 or $30,000 or more at the more expensive schools. Add a year or more, and you've just bought the equivalent of a second home. So what is this intentional process that can help you avoid those extra years? Now, there's a number of personality assessment tests, interest inventory studies, and the like. The approach we recommend has 3 stages. If you think about a path, there's 3 legs to the journey. Everyone is different, and with that said, how far you travel on the path is completely up to you. Meaning you can take just the first leg and be better off than you would have been had you taken the traditional path of college selection and major determination. But if you take all 3, I can promise you that you and your student will wind up with a much greater confidence level of both their school choice and their course of study. Even better than that, their commitment to both the school and their major will be greater because it's integrated those 4 characteristics, their interests, their values, their skills, and their personality that uniquely match them to their school and major. So here's the 3 legs. Leg number 1 of the journey, or of the path, is roughly a 500-question survey that will prescribe and diagnose in an 11-page report career recommendations that can easily be translated into courses of study. The electronic report even allows you to dig deeper to very specific career types that are hyperlinked, so you and your student have a roadmap of any particular career in terms of the hiring prospects in that particular career, salaries, work environment, required education, advancement opportunities, and a lot more. There's more than 4,000 careers that we're capable of hot linking to your customized report. They're going to focus on a handful in your report that your student is uniquely driven toward. Now, this option is best suited for students seeking confirmation for the direction they think they want to pursue. Sometimes at 17 years old, what you assume to be true, even about yourself, turns out not necessarily to be on target. The report at this level will likely either confirm your assumptions or just turn on a light that provides your student with the guidance to pursue a fulfilling career that may not even be on the radar yet. Now, leg number 2 of the journey is nearly identical to leg number 1, but expands and provides much greater granularity in the projections and recommendations. This report is comprehensive at more than 30 pages in length. The report is for the student who really is struggling with identifying their major and even perhaps their school choice. If you're really seeking to clarify or identify a solid career match that will provide absolute confidence in school and major selection, this is the right step. Leg 3 of the journey, the final leg, really puts everything together and lands the student firmly in the direction of the perfect school. Using the report from leg 1 or leg 2, the student is guided in a small group online course that culminates in their creation of a list of 5 to 7 schools that are nearly perfect matches for what they are uniquely suited to pursue. Instead of throwing a dartboard at the map or throwing a dart at the map or considering only familiar schools, this step is designed to produce a result that can be the springboard of an emotionally and economically fulfilling career. Now, below this video are the prices for each of these 3 options. We think you'll agree that all are extraordinarily affordable. Remember, the path you choose becomes a defining moment. The choice is clear, the stakes are high, The decision is up to you. Good luck with your college planning. I hope this was helpful.